She sat in the cafe, her trembling fingers tracing the edge of her teacup. People passed by, laughing, talking, living, while she sat there, wheels locked beneath the small table, her heart heavy with dread. She didn't know this was all a cruel joke. Her friends had set her up on a blind date, telling her someone special wanted to meet her, someone kind, someone who saw beyond the wheelchair. She believed them. She dressed up, brushed her hair, wore the soft pink dress she hadn't dared to wear in years. But as the minutes ticked by, laughter echoed from a nearby corner. They were watching. Recording. Waiting to see how long the paralyzed girl would wait for a man who would never show up, and then he walked in. The man was tall, confident, with a quiet presence that seemed to draw the entire room's attention without him saying a word. His suit was simple but sharp, his expression calm yet tired, the kind of tiredness that comes from carrying too much responsibility and too many broken nights. He was a single dad, a CEO who'd stopped believing in love long ago, but something about that cafe, about her, made him stop in his tracks. That he didn't know her name, but he saw everything in one glance: the shaking hands, the brave little smile, the forced composure. And behind her, a group of young people whispering, their phones pointed toward her table. He understood immediately. He walked straight to her. "Hi," he said softly, pulling out the chair across from her. "Sorry I'm late." Her eyes widened. What? "I'm the one you've been waiting for," he continued, smiling gently as he extended his hand across the table. "You must be Emma." For a second, she couldn't breathe. The group behind her went silent. He wasn't supposed to be real. There wasn't supposed to be anyone who would sit with her, let alone speak to her like that. She hesitated, then slowly placed her fragile hand in his. His hand was warm, firm, alive. "I'm sorry," she stammered. "I think there's been a mistake." "No mistake," he said calmly. "I'm here now. And I'd really like to know you." The laughter from the back stopped entirely. One of the girls lowered her phone. The prank had just turned into something they didn't understand. He looked directly at them, a quiet, steady look that carried both authority and disappointment. They turned away. And then he looked back at Emma, his eyes softening again. "Do you like coffee or tea?" Her lips trembled, and for the first time that evening, she smiled, a small, genuine, disbelieving smile. "Tea," she whispered. He nodded. "Then tea it is." Their conversation started awkwardly. She was nervous, unsure, thinking any second he'd realize she wasn't worth his time. But he didn't. He asked about her dreams, her favorite books, what she liked to do when it rained. She told him she loved painting, even if her hands sometimes shook too much to hold the brush steady. "I used to paint too," he said quietly. "Before everything became about numbers and deadlines." He didn't tell her that his daughter was at home with her grandmother, or that his late wife had died in a car accident that left him questioning fate. He didn't tell her that the only reason he came to this cafe was to remember what peace used to feel like. But as she spoke, as her eyes lit up with soft courage, he realized he hadn't felt peace in years, until now, when she laughed, truly laughed. It was the most beautiful sound in the room. By the time they finished their drinks, the cafe had emptied. She looked at the clock and whispered, "You didn't have to stay this long." He smiled faintly. "I wanted to." She blinked back tears. "You don't even know me." He leaned forward. "Then maybe you can let me." The next day, her phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. "Would you like to go somewhere tomorrow? I know a place where the sunsets look like they were painted." It was him. She hesitated for a long time before replying, her heart pounding. Finally, she typed, "I'd like that." The next few weeks changed everything. He drove her to the seaside, where the wind brushed through her hair and the sky melted into colors she thought only existed in dreams. She told him about the accident, how a single moment had taken her ability to walk, how she'd lost friends, confidence, hope. "I was angry at life," she admitted quietly, watching the waves. "At everyone. Even at God. I thought being broken meant being unwanted." He was silent for a moment. Then he said, "You're not broken. You're surviving. There's a difference." Her throat tightened. She looked at him, really looked, and saw the shadows in his eyes. "You've lost someone too," she said softly. He nodded. "My wife. Years ago." The silence between them wasn't heavy anymore. It was full of understanding. Two people who had lost too much, finding something they didn't expect: peace, warmth, a spark of hope. When he dropped her home, she thanked him. He smiled, then gently reached for her hand again, the same way he had in the cafe. "You don't have to thank me, Emma. Just keep smiling like that. It suits you." She watched him drive away, her heart whispering something she hadn't felt in a long time: maybe she deserved love. 2 weeks later, those same friends, the ones who played that cruel joke, saw her again. But this time, she wasn't sitting alone in a corner. She was laughing, her hair shining under the cafe lights, the CEO sitting across from her, his eyes full of quiet admiration. They froze. One of them whispered, "Is that her?" Yes. The girl they'd mocked. The girl they'd pitted. The girl who'd found someone who saw beyond everything they couldn't. He noticed them but said nothing. Instead, he turned to Emma and said softly, "You ready to go?" She nodded, smiling, and when he placed his hand on hers, the world around her, the whispers, the stares, the memories, all disappeared, because in that moment, she realized something powerful. It wasn't pity that had brought him to her. It was connection. Real, raw, and human, and for the first time in years, she believed that love didn't need perfection, only courage. When the video of that blind date prank resurfaced months later, it didn't end the way they'd planned. It went viral for all the right reasons, not because of the cruelty, but because of what came after. People saw the ending: the CEO holding her hand, the girl in the wheelchair smiling through tears, and they wrote comments that filled millions of hearts. She waited for love, and it finally showed up. Kindness is more powerful than cruelty. Never underestimate a broken heart, it might be the strongest thing in the room. And somewhere, behind the glow of a sunset, a man and a woman sat quietly together, hands intertwined, hearts healing, proving that sometimes, the most beautiful beginnings come from someone else's cruel joke, because love, in its truest form, doesn't see limitations. It sees souls.